So, students, welcome to all of you in today's class. Today, I'm going to discuss about the another topic, that is dynamic method dispatch, and I will talk about the applets. Basically, what is the dynamic method dispatch? It's a terminology. You can say it's a technique through which we can implement the concept of method overriding. Earlier, I told you that what is overriding. If you are using the concept of inheritance, there are more than one classes. There is a superclass, then subclass, subclass to subclass, and the methods with the same name, with the same signature, each are existing into the classes. Then at what time which method will be called, that is known as method overriding. When a method, more than one method, our methods are having same name with the same number of arguments, with same return type, and with the same, or you can say same signature. That is the method overriding. So how to implement this is also called the runtime polymorphism, because which method would be called, that will be decided at the execution time, that is known as runtime polymorphism. And I told you earlier that runtime polymorphism is not possible without the inheritance. So dynamic method dispatch is a technique. Suppose there are three classes. There is a superclass A. You are inheriting the properties and attributes of the superclass to subclass B. And then again from B, you are inheriting into the subclass C. In that scenario, if this is the situation, then which method will be executed if the method is having the same name and same signature? That will be done through the dynamic method dispatch. And the method is that, if what we will do, we will create the object or reference of the superclass, and we will pass the object references of the subclasses into the superclass reference, and what method we want to execute, we will assign the that subclass object reference to the superclass reference, and we can access the method of that subclass. So this technique is known as dynamic method dispatch. So let's see. Method overriding is one of the ways in which Java supports runtime polymorphism. It is the mechanism by which a call to an overridden method is resolved at runtime rather than compile time. When an overridden method is called through a superclass reference, Java determines which version, superclass or subclass of that method is to be executed based upon the type of object being referred to at the time the call occurs. Thus, this determination is made at runtime. At runtime, it depends on the type of the object being referred to, not the type of the reference variable, that determines which version of an overridden method will be executed. A superclass reference variable can refer to a subclass object. This is also known as upcasting. In the last class also, we have seen the upcasting method. In the examples, I demonstrated that you will create the object reference of type superclass, and in the superclass you will assign the object reference of the subclass, that subclass which method you want to execute, right? This technique is known as upcasting. If a superclass contains a method that is overridden by a subclass. Then when different type of objects are referred to through a superclass reference variable, different versions of the method are executed. So you will create a superclass reference and you will assign the subclass object reference to that superclass reference, and you जिसका भी जिस सब क्लास का भी आप रेफरेंस असाइन करेंगे उस सुपर क्लास रेफरेंस को उसी का मेथड जो है एग्जीक्यूट करेगा. तो this technique is known as upcasting. Now let's see this concept with the help of an example. Dynamic method dispatch, where we have created a superclass. The name of the superclass is A, in which there is a method M1. Return type of this method is nothing, and in the body of this method we are printing just a message inside each M1 method. Then we are creating a class B, which is extending class A. This is the subclass of A, where again there is a method M1. It means we are overriding the method of superclass. Again we are printing the same message. Then there is another class. This class is C, which is also a subclass and which is extending the superclass A. And thus it is evident here that again you are overriding the superclass method M1. The name of the method is same, their return type is same, and the arguments are no argument. There are no arguments. So every method is same, and which method will be executed at runtime, this is the issue, and that will be handled through dynamic method dispatch. Here, which type of inheritance is there? Anyone? Any student? In this example, there is a superclass A. We are making a subclass B by extending superclass A. Another subclass C, which is again extending the superclass A. Which type of inheritance is this? Anyone? Anyone, students? Please respond.
Multi-level.
ध्यान से देखो, it's not multiple, not multi-level, it's a hierarchical tree-like structure. There is one superclass and two subclasses. B is also inheriting from the superclass A, and C is also inheriting from the superclass A. So this is a hierarchical inheritance. This is the example of hierarchical inheritance, right? Now we have created another class D, in which the main method is there. So whenever you will execute this program, always execution will start from this main function. So here you have created an object of class superclass A. Then you have created the object of subclass B, object of subclass C. Now, what I told you that you will create a reference type, reference of superclass A, right? And this reference variable will refer to object A. Now, if you want to execute the method of the superclass, so you will assign the superclass object to this reference variable, and through the reference variable, you will call the method of that superclass object, right? Reference dot M1. it will give the print out or print. It will print the message of the superclass A. If you want to execute the method of subclass B, so for that you will assign the object of the subclass B to reference of superclass. This is upcasting, right? And through this variable, through this superclass variable reference, you can call the method of subclass B. If you want to execute at runtime the method of subclass C, then you will assign the object of subclass C to reference of superclass A, and by using the superclass reference, you can call the method of subclass C. So this technique is known as dynamic method dispatch, and through this you can achieve the runtime polymorphism. You can achieve the goal of runtime polymorphism. So this technique is known as dynamic method dispatch. It's clear to everybody. This is very important concept. Again, I am repeating that. You will suppose there are more than one classes, and there is a method which is residing in every class, superclass and subclasses. Then methods are, if methods are having the same name and same signature means same number of arguments, same name and same return type. In that case, which one will be called? That will be resolved through the dynamic method dispatch technique, in which you first of all you will create the object of every class, including the superclass and subclasses. Then you will create a reference of the superclass. In the superclass reference, you will assign the subclass object. That subclass object, which method you want to execute, and this technique is known as dynamic method dispatch. I hope this concept is clear to all of you now. Hello, please respond. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Now, in the previous class, I discussed about the concept of interfaces and abstract classes. So I discussed concept of interfaces very superficially, but concept of abstract classes in detail. There I told you that what is the difference between the interfaces and abstract class. The main difference is that interfaces are the collection of declaration of constant variables and methods, abstract methods. Interfaces will have all the values and all the methods of type abstract. While in the abstract class, you will have some abstract methods as well as some regular method. When I am talking about the abstract methods, it means that methods without any definition, and when I am talking about the regular method, that means the method with the body. So abstract class can have both the regular method as well as the abstract methods, but interface contains only the abstract methods, right? So this is the main difference between the interfaces and abstract classes. You cannot create the object of abstract classes, as well you cannot create the object of interface. So you can define an interface is a fully abstract class that includes a group of methods without a body. In Java, an interface defines a set of specifications that other classes must implement, right? So, for example, suppose it's an interface you have created, interface name, and here there is a method public void get name, which this method get name method is not having any body. Then by default, what is the nature of this method? The nature of this method is abstract. So in the interfaces, there is no need to use prefix the abstract keyword with the methods. By default, they will be the abstract methods. While in the abstract classes, you will have to write the abstract keyword, but here in the interfaces, no need to write the abstract keywords. If public void get name, if this will be without any body, and this will be the abstract method. Now, with the help of an example, you can understand how to implement. So here you have created an interface. The name of the interface is A. Okay, interface is the keyword. To create the interface, you will use this keyword A, in which there is a method get name, right? And argument type is of type string. The argument is name, and there is no body. Only we have declared an abstract method. Now you are creating a class C, and which will implement this interface A, which is having the method get name. Implementation. What do you mean by implements? Implements means now you will write the body of this method. You will define this method get name into the subclass C. So you will write class C implements which interface A. There is a method public void get name, and you are implementing by printing a simple message computer language concatenation operator and this and. Now we will create a class which will have the main method. Whenever we execute, always execution will start from this point, and here we are creating an object of class C and class C, and here it should be A. Here A is missing, right? So C, the type of the, what is the type? The type is of subclass. You are creating an object of interface new C A dot get time. Whenever you will call this get name function, you are passing here argument Java that will be copied to this, and since this is the string, this is an object, so by reference here you will pass by reference n is a reference which is referring to this object Java string message, and you are printing here system.out.println computer language Java. The output will be computer language Java, right? So in this way you can implement the concept of interface. As classes can be extended, in the previous classes you might have seen, in the same manner you can extend the interfaces also, right? So an interface can extend multiple interfaces. For example, here there is an interface A, there is an interface, two interfaces are there, B. You are creating another interface C, which is extending the interface A and B, right? So you can create n number of interfaces, and you can implement, you can extend those interfaces into another interface, right? In the same manner as you did with the classes. Now question arises, what are the advantages of interfaces in Java? The first thing, interfaces provide specifications that a class which implement it must follow. Here specifications means what is the name of the method, what are the arguments, what are the data types of those arguments, what is the return type of that method. That is known as, in a complete form, that is known as specifications. So interfaces provide specifications that a class which implement it must follow. Another advantage is, similar to abstract classes, interfaces help us to achieve abstraction in Java. What is abstraction? Abstraction is without going into the detail of anything, right? If you are using, that is known as, that is the property is known as abstraction, and that is the one of the important property of Java. And through interfaces and abstract classes, the properties of abstraction is fulfilled in Java. Interfaces are also used to achieve multiple inheritance in Java. As I told you earlier that in Java there is no, you cannot implement multiple inheritance directly, right? By using the classes, you cannot. And I told you the region also. What was the region? What is the multiple inheritance? I told you that multiple inheritance is when there are more than one superclasses, and if you are inheriting the properties and methods of those superclasses into single subclass, that is the multiple inheritance. What is the problem? The problem is, in the last class I told you the example. I took the example of grandparents and parent. Suppose there is a superclass grandparent and two subclasses are there, parent 1 and parent 2. That is the hierarchical inheritance. From the grandparent, all the methods and attributes will be inherited to subclass A and B. But from parent 1 and parent 2, we are making another subclass, that is the child subclass. That is the example of multiple inheritance. If you will combine both the inheritance hybrid and multiple, that will be hierarchical and multiple, that will become an example of hybrid inheritance. Then what is the problem if you are using the classes? From grandparent, you are inheriting all the properties and methods into the subclass A and subclass B. That means parent 1 and parent 2. When you are inheriting the method of grandparent superclass to subclass child, then two copies of that method will come. One is through grandparent, parent 1, child, another one from grandparent to parent 2 and child. The same copy that will be received. So which one copy it will execute, which one method of the superclass that grandchild or child subclass will execute, that is the problem. That will not be decided. There will be ambiguity. So to remove this problem in Java, we implement the concept of multiple inheritance through interfaces. So this is the reason. In the previous class, I took an example of default methods in the interfaces. The problem is this, as I told you that in the interfaces, what is the interface? Interface is the collection of declaration of methods and constant values. But suppose if you want to define a method into the interface, that is not possible. Is it? That is not possible, na? So how definition of a method would be possible in the interface? That is possible through the default method. That is possible through the default methods. So we will use the keyword default, and by using the keyword default, we can define any method in the interface so Such methods are known as default methods. Again, I am repeating that since in the interfaces you cannot define any methods, but still if there are some applications where the definition of a method is required, then you will make that method as a default method. If that method is default method, then you can define that method within the interface also. So this is the application of default method. With the release of, and before Java 8 version, it was not there, but with the release of Java 8, we can now add methods with implementation inside an interface. These methods are called default methods. To declare default methods inside the interfaces, you can use the default keyword. For example, here public default void G. G is a method which is returning nothing, and this is of type default. Then you can, if this is the default method and if this is in the interface, you can, within the interface, you can define the body of that method. It's clear to everybody? Please respond. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Then what is the region of default methods? What situation may be arise when there is a need of default methods, which is against the nature of interfaces? If a large number of classes were implementing this interface, suppose there is an interface and large number of classes are implementing it, then we need to track all these classes and make changes in them. This is not only tedious but error prone as well. If an interface is being implemented through large number of classes, so it will be very difficult and error prone activity. To resolve this, Java introduced default methods. Default methods are inherited like on ordinary methods. This is the region. Now let's see an example of interfaces. We have created an interface P in which two methods are there. One is GA. This is an abstract method without any body. And there is a default method G, which is having the body. And in the body, what we are doing, we are printing a message. I can't get sides of a polygon. This message are being printed on the console. So here body is there, and in the interfaces, we are defining a function. So we have used default here. Okay. Now, we are implementing this polygon class P interface, polygon interface P. So class R stands for rectangle, implements polygon P. Here, when we are implementing, so this is the abstract method. So this is being implemented here. Public void GA, get area. We are calculating the area of the rectangle, length into breadth. We have assigned the value and printing the value of the area of rectangle. Now, we are overriding this method G, default method, which is defined in interface. We are overriding. We can override like this. Public void G, system I have 4 sides in the rectangle. Right? So one method is getting implemented, which is abstract in interface, and another method is overridden. So from which property is here, is being satisfied here. You can override a default method from the interfaces. So if in the Viva anybody ask any question, ask a question that can you implement the override the method of an interface, then you will say yes, we can override if there is a default method in the interface. That default method can be override in the class. Now there is another class again. S stands for square, which is implementing polygon. Again, we are defining GA, and here the square is length into length. The value of length is 5, and you are printing a area of that particular square. Okay, so only you are implementing abstract method here in the class, defining abstract method in the square. Now there is a class M having the main method. Execution will start from this point. You have created an object R1 of rectangle subclass. Through this, you are R1.GA, R1.G. Then rectangle, the methods of rectangle class will be executed. R1.GA, the output will be 30 here, and here I have 4 sides. Overridden method will be executed. Now again, you are creating an object S1 of the square class where new S1.GA, S1.G. In this case, what will be the output? The output will be S1.GA 25, area will be printed, and what will be the output of S1.G? Anyone? The output will be, since you are not overriding this method, so this will be inherited. I can get slides of a polygon. This will be the output here in this line. It's clear to everybody? Please respond. Hello.
Yes,
Bhavna. Now, a very important topic, applets. What is the need of an applet? Up till now, whatever we are learning the concept of core Java, right? But how to do the GUI programming, how to create the graphical user interfaces using the Java programming language? We can do that by using the technique of a Java programming language that is known as applets, right? Through applets, you can create the GUI, means you can draw the rectangle, you can apply some logic into the applet programs, okay, in the form of graphical user interface with a better display. An applet is a Java program that can be embedded into a web page. It runs inside the web browser and works at client side. Applets are the part of core Java, right? There are two things in Java through which you can create the graphical user interface. One is through applets, another one is through swings. SWING, swings. The swings comes into the section of advanced Java, but the purpose of both are to create how to create the graphical user interfaces using the Java programming language. What is the difference between applets and swings? Swings are basically swings are having the components, and those components are developed in Java, so they are more secure. But applets components are developed using C++, right? So portability of applets is lesser than the swings, right? And the security is also lesser than swings. So this is the difference between the applets and swings. Since swings are not the part of your curriculum, that's why I'm not discussing more, but you must know. And once you are having the clear concept about the applets, then you can very easily understand the concept of swings also. So an applet is a Java program that can be embedded into a web page. It runs inside the web browser and works at client side. It's very important. It runs inside the web browser. All the web browsers are having by default inbuilt Java virtual machine. If you are not using Applet, you are running simple program. For that, your JDK must have the Java virtual machine to execute. What is the role of Java virtual machine? Actually, in Java virtual machine, there are 3 phases. Your program will be portable only if Java virtual machine is installed. Once you have compiled your bytecode, that bytecode will be executable on any platform where Java virtual machine is installed. That's why we say that Java programs are portable, platform independent. But when you are running applet programs, Java applet programs, then that will be executed through HTML browser. It means every browser will have the Java virtual machine, and through that Java virtual machine, applets will be executed. Actually, what is the architecture of Java virtual machine? The Java virtual machine is having, always the program will be executed in Java virtual machine in 3 phases. The first one is class loader. Once you compile your Java program, that converted into the bytecode, that bytecode will be loaded into through the class loader into the Java virtual machine. That is the first phase. After that, in Java virtual machine, there is another phase, that is the Java code verifier. The Java code verifier stage will find out whether there are any bugs or not in your program. If there will be any bugs, then in that case, your program will not be, Java program will not be executed. At that time, the execution of the program will be stopped if any bug is find out by the Java virtual machine. Then third phase is Java executor, where interpreter is there, and interpreter executes every statement of your compiled bytecode line by line. So your Java virtual machine works in 3 phases. One is class loader, where bytecode is loaded into it. Then Java code verifier, your code will be verified whether there is any bug or not. If there will be any bug, your program will not be executed. If not, then that will be passed to the Java executor phase, where your program will be executed. So this is the architecture of Java virtual machine, which will have three phases. Again, I am repeating: class loader, another one is Java bytecode verifier, and third one is interpreter executor, where the Java interpreter resides. Right? So in this way, by following these phases, your Java programs execute. That's why we say that Java programs are secure, because if any bug will be there in the Java virtual machine at the level, the bytecode verifier level, your Java program will be rejected and that will not be executed. An applet is embedded in an HTML page using the applet or object tag and hosted on a web server. Applets are used to make the website more dynamic and entertaining. Why dynamic? Because you can apply logic here. If you are developing any web page using the HTML, those web pages are basically the static web pages. Those web pages are basically the static web pages. Why static web pages? Because you are simply using the tags. Tags are basically the commands. For example, bold, HR for the horizontal line, right? Italics for I. These are the commands. So whatever the web pages you are creating, that using the HTML, they are the static web pages. But if you want to make your web page interactive, user interactive, then if user interactiveness is there in your web page, then that will be known as dynamic web page. And you know that website is the collection of web pages that will become a dynamic websites. So static websites, dynamic websites, right? So applets are used. What is the application of applets? Applets are used to make your website dynamic because you can apply logic there, and logic, whenever you are applying logic and user interactiveness into your web page, that web page will become the dynamic web page, and dynamic webs consequently dynamic website, and through applets you can achieve that. It's clear to everybody? Hello, Tushar, Bhavna. Hello. Now, advantages of applets. Applet Applets are basically client-side programming and server-side. It works at client-side, so less response time. What do you mean by this? In the static web pages you create, those web pages are always executed at the server side, right? Suppose you have created any web page, that web page is of a static nature, that will be executed at runtime, at the server side, right? So response user will get the less response time. But applets always executed at the client side. Okay, so if that is executed at the client side, then every time that is not, they don't need to refer the server, so very less response time will be there, and your websites will be faster in execution if you are using the concept of applets. Another is secure. Why secure? As I told you that the bytecode verifier, if any bug is there in your Java program, in your applet program, then that will be rejected. So your web pages will be secure. There are many more features, security features in applets. Then it can be executed by browsers running under many platforms. That is platform independent. Applets are platform independent because they are those programs are Applet programs are being developed using the Java programming language, so that can be executed on multiple platforms. Means operating system, for example, Linux, Windows, Macintosh operating systems, etc. What is the disadvantage? Only one disadvantage is there. Plugin is required at client browser to execute Applet. Whenever you want to execute your Applet program, so always there is a need of plugin program software. So that is one disadvantage. Then what is the life cycle of a Java Applet program? Always in the Viva as well as in the theory exam, this question is asked, what is the life cycle of Java Applet? There are 5 phases into this. First of all, your applets are get initialized. All the variables, all the methods will be initialized, of applets will be initialized. Then it will start. Then applet is painted. Means whatever the drawing rectangle, drawing circle you can, that will be done. After that, applet will be stopped, and once you will come out of your applet program, that will be destroyed. These are the various stages. First of all, initialization, then started, then painted, then stopped, then destroyed. Init method for initializing, init method is used. For starting an applet, start method is used. For drawing anything, paint method is used. Then stopped means execution of the applet will start. If you come out of your applet program, then whatever the applet, that will be destroyed. So this is the life cycle. Always your Java applet programs follow this particular life cycle. You can feel this whenever you surf. You are doing surfing on the internet. You open your browser, right? Then from that browser you create many other tabs. You open many other tabs. So when you start your browser, at that time things will be initialized. Then that will be started. The initialization process is done only for once. Then many tabs you can start, right? And suppose every tab is having the website, web pages, having the different things. So you can draw the things, right? Then you can stop, and whenever you will come from the browser, then whatever the applet programs you have opened, they will be destroyed. Destroyed means whatever the memory is allocated for the objects of the applets, the memory will be released. So these are the various stages in it, and these will be implemented through the methods initialized, started, painted, stopped, and destroy methods. Now there is another method, paint method. अब क्या होता है? Why repaint method? What is the difference between the paint method and repaint method? So suppose you have created you have opened any web page, and if that web page is having one applet, once it will draw, whenever you will refresh it, then again redraw whatever the object, that will be redrawn. That is done using the repaint. Repaint internally calls the update method, calls the update method, right? So this is the difference between paint and repaint. What is the difference between the initialized and started? Initialization process is done only for once, right? And you can start the applet, execution of applet many times, but initialization is done only for once. So these are the various life cycles of Java applet programs. Is it clear to everybody? Hello,
Yes, sir.
Tushar,
Yes, sir.
Bhavna. अरे म्यूट करके साइड रखा हुआ है क्या बेटा फोन को?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, sir, continue.
It's clear.
Yes, sir.
Now, your applet programs are resides. They are basically the classes, applet classes. They are resides in stored in applet package. Java.applet.applet. Whenever you will create any applet, Java applet, then you will have to write import java.applet, which is a package, java.applet, then .applet class. This package you will import where applet is a package, and from the applet package, whatever the class you want to import. If you want to import all the classes of this applet package, then .start. For creating any applet, java.applet.applet class must be inherited, and as I told you earlier, it provides 4 lifecycle methods of applet. One is public void init is used to initialize the applet. It is invoked only once, as I told you. Public void start is invoked after the init method or browser is maximized. It is used to start the applet. Then public void stop, it is used to stop the applet. It is invoked when applet is stopped or browser is minimized. When you minimize your browser, then stop will be called. Execution will be stopped at that time. Then destroy is used to destroy the applet. It is invoked only once. Many times you can minimize or maximize your applet, but whenever you will destroy it, then it means that you are coming out of your applet program, exiting from your applet program. Then there are some component classes, java.awt.class. The component class provides lifecycle method of the applets. Okay. Java.awt.component class. So you can see what are the various component classes in Java. So in that way you can inherit by using the import keyword. All the public init, start, destroy, all these methods resides into the component class. Then public void paint graphics G. This is used to paint the applet. It provides graphics class object that can be used for drawing oval, rectangle, arc, any type of image. You can use paint method. Then repaint method, paint method and repaint method is same, but repaint is called when you are going to refresh, right, your web page. If your web page, you are going to refresh it, then repaint will be called. And repaint method internally basically same as a paint method, but it calls update method. Inside update method is there, that will be called automatically, and your page applet will be refreshed. Now It's a very simple program. On the Applet program, we are creating an Applet program where on the Applet we are printing this message, hi, at the point 150, 150. So always start from the vertical, from the top corner, 150 towards right and 150 towards bottom. Whatever is the point, at that point this high message will be printed. Now, what is the method? I told you that for init, for start, destroy, you will use this import java.applet.applet. And another component classes, for example, graphics is a component class. So we will import java.awt. What is the full form of AWT? Abstract Windowing Toolkit. AWT acronym for Abstract Windowing Toolkit. So you will do import java.awt.graphics. These two statements are necessary. Then you have created a class, public class f extends applet. Right? So applet is a class which you are extending by a user defined class f. Now the name of your program will be f.java. You will open the notepad. On the notepad you will write f.java. In this, if you are not writing the init, start, so by default the init and start method defined in this applet class will be executed. Here we are overriding paint method. Paint method we are overriding because we have to write different message. So paint return type is void and this is public. We are passing an object G of type graphics component class. In this graphics component class, there are various methods. For example, drawString. So to print a message on the applet, we use the method drawString, which is defined in graphics component class, and we are overriding here g.drawString. We are passing the message which we want to print at what point on your applet. Right? So f.java you will store. Now how to call it? That is the important thing. Always the applet programs will be executed using the applet viewer. How? So in this way, once you have created your f.java earlier, you will compile it. If there is no error, it will convert it into f.class, which will be the bytecode. Now you will write the HTML code in this way. So this is the HTML tags. So always there will be opening tag and closing tag. Closing tag is given by the /. So HTML//HTML. Within this, there will be body. Body part is the applet. The part of your applet. Applet part is known as body part. There we can call the bytecode f.class using this syntax applet code equal to f.class. If you have stored this bytecode into some folder, then you will have to give the path also. So f.class width and height of the applet. What would be the size of the applet? That will be of 300 width and 300 height. Then you will close the applet code and then body. Right? So on the applet, a message will be printed hi. Then you will close the body part, you will close the HTML part. So in this way, within the HTML, you are embedding your bytecode, Java bytecode. Now, how to execute it? One way is this. You will write, suppose the name of this particular HTML file is f.html. f.html. Then at the command prompt, you will write applet viewer, AppletViewer, applet viewer f.html. Whenever you will press enter, your applet will be opened in the browser and with the message hi. Okay. So what is the procedure? First of all, as usual, you write your Java program on the editor, then you compile it, okay, and then you open a notepad again and write the HTML code, and within that HTML code you embed your applet program, and from the command prompt you can write a1 applet viewer f.html, then your applet program will be executed. Another way is to this, in the same editor, you will write your Java program like this, and in the comment form, at the last of your Java program, you can write within your program. You will through the applet viewer, you can execute. Then see another example. In this example, we are trying to draw line, we are trying to draw the string, we are trying to draw the rectangle, oval, different shapes, right? We are trying to set the colors to the objects, whatever objects, oval, rectangle we have created. So here to create such applet, first of all, import java.applet. It will, which functions, which methods it will inherit? Anyone? Please respond. It will inherit init method, start method, stop method, destroy method, right? Then import java.awt.start. This will inherit all the component classes. For example, graphics. So for that we will write import java.awt.start. Here public class name extends applet. Okay. We are making the user defined class graphics demo and extending for this from this applet class. Then in the paint method we are passing G object of graphics component class, and in this graphics component class there are various methods are defined. For example, g.setColor. Set color, here you are, whatever the images you will draw, whatever the text you will write on the applet, the color will be blue. Then g.drawString, welcome. This message will be drawn. G.drawLine, you will draw a line. Draw rectangle, then rectangle will be formed using these coordinates. Then g.fill rectangle, rectangle will be filled. Then g.draw oval will be formed. Then g.setColor, Now the color will be set to red. Fill oval, then oval, then draw. You can create an arc using these coordinates. You can fill the arcs using these coordinates. So these are the various methods which are uh, given in the graphics component class, and you can use directly and just pass the argument into the. And there are other methods also to create the graphical user interface. Now, what is the name of this graphics demo? Now in the HTML body applet code graphics demo dot class, width of the applet is 400. The name will be graphics demo.html. Whenever you will execute it from the command prompt, applet fever graphics demo.html, and your applet will be executed, which will have the message, which will have the line, which will have the rectangle, which will have the oval, different shapes, right? Arc, all these things. In this way, you can write your applet programs. And here, another example, import java.awt.star. Same for the component classes. For example, graphics, import java.applet.star for init, start, and paint, init, start, stop, and destroy. Public Java, import java.applet.star. You will import public class display image extends applet. Here you are creating a user class, defined class display image, which is extending applet. Here picture is a variable object of image class. Is an object of image class. Now you are overriding this init method. Here you are overriding init method. In the earlier examples, you were not overriding. By default, the init method will be inherited. But here you are overriding it. Public void init, in which you are using the method getImage, getDocumentBase s.spg. Then it means that you are including a picture on your applet. So by using the getImage and getDocumentBase method, you can include images into your applet. Now public void paint, and that image will be, picture will be drawn, g.drawImage. Draw image, again this method is in graphics, with at the 30 point coordinates, this will be drawn. Okay. So basically you are just including an image into your web applet to this code. Now again in the HTML code you can include applet code display image dot class. At the 400 coordinates, the applet will be shown, and you can execute that. So today I discussed various topics. One is dynamic method dispatch, how the dynamic method dispatch technique can be used to implement the runtime polymorphism method overriding. Then I discussed the concept of upcasting. Then what is the upcasting? I told you that if you are assigning the subclass object to superclass object, then that is the upcasting. Then I told you the concept of interfaces. In the interfaces, what is the role of default method? Is there? I told you that the purpose of defining the default method is to define a method, regular method, within the interfaces through default methods. Then I demonstrated the example of hierarchical inheritance. Then I told you that as the classes can be extended in the same manner, interfaces can also be extended. Then I discussed the concept of applets. What are the properties of applets? What is the life cycle of applets? When you execute your applet, what are the stages? Then I discussed about the architecture of Java Virtual Machine. Yeah. In what stages Java Virtual Machine executes your program? I told you class loader, Java code verifier, and code executor. And through various examples, I described the how to create the applet and how to implement your applet program in Java. I told you what is the difference between the init method and start method. What is the difference between the start and stop method? What is the difference between the paint method and repaint method? Repaint method internally was the update. Whenever you refresh your web, whenever you minimize, then stop method is called. Whenever you are exiting from your applets, then at that time destroy method will be called. When you are maximizing, at that time start method will be called. Initialization will be done only for once, but minimization and maximization of your applet can be, web page can be done anytime, any number of times, right? So these concepts I discussed. I hope all of you are clear about all these concepts. Okay, and thank you very much